And this is now a special hour. Straight ahead, fighting for closure and clinging to the American dream. President Obama's $75 billion mortgage makeover plan. Who qualifies and how will it help you? Our focus this hour, helping struggling homeowners right here in the CNN Newsroom. So here is who we are talking to this hour. Rob Holly is a realtor in Atlanta, a franchise owner of Century 21 Holly Realty. And Bob Moulton is a lender, the president of Americana Mortgage Group. He's in West Palm Beach, Florida. And Steve Woodall is one of millions of Americans trying to avoid foreclosure, but actually thinking that it just might be his only option. He's lost about all this. His job scenario changed a bit, but sadly, his house, well, the worth is less than what he actually owes on it. He is joining us from Tampa. And as always, our Josh Leves is fielding your iReport, Facebook, and email questions. All right, we've got a great panel here, and before we get to our guests, let's make sure that we're all up to speed on what President Obama is actually proposing. CNN personal finance editor Jerry Willis has details.
The plan, dubbed Making Housing Work, helps two groups of homeowners. The first are people who are underwater in their mortgage. That is, they owe more than their home is worth, but are current in their payments. Their mortgages will be refinanced into a new loan. Their principal will not be reduced, but their payments will be lowered, or they will be able to avoid painful rate resets. The other program sets out to help homeowners who have lost a job or are behind on their payments and at risk of foreclosure. Those borrowers will be eligible for loan modifications, in which the lender lowers the interest rate or principal owed. This will cut the monthly mortgage payment and, more importantly, help avoid foreclosure.
And both programs require that you actually live in your home. This is your primary home, and that mortgages be less than $729,750. All right, so let's begin this conversation. Steve, I want to begin with you because your situation is duplicated many times over across the country. Here you live in Tampa, Florida. You bought your home for a pretty sizable figure, what, $270,000, but now it is upside down. Your job scenario changed. You're no longer making as much money as you once did, but that didn't change how much you owe per month. What, your mortgage now represents about 50% of your take-home pay?
Right.
Okay, so when you hear about this mortgage modification plan, Steve, does this feel like this is going to be the solution for you? Do you feel like you can now save your home?
Yeah, I don't know what to think at this point. When I just started the process of calling my mortgage company last month, and they didn't really have a lot. They were like, well, wait until, you know, the Obama stimulus comes out in March, but realistically, they told me that they can't really do anything unless I don't make my payments, and I'm not sure what to do at this point.
And you hate hearing that, right? Because here you are, you know, you've been paying your mortgage, and you, like all of us, think that you want to keep your credit in good standing, so you want to pay your bills on time. But by getting this kind of runaround, you're actually considering now foreclosure as an option?
Well, the deal is with the house payment being 50% of your take-home income, we had a baby, my wife is no longer working. It's not a sustainable path that we're on, that something needs to change, and we're just trying to figure out what to do. At this point, I would rather have cash than good credit. We don't need anything. I'd rather have an emergency fund. We're not able to save. We don't have life insurance. Ideally, it's valuable to me to be able to give, and we're just living paycheck to paycheck, and it's just not. It's not sustainable. So we're trying to figure out, well, what option do we have?
And when you talk about, you know, saving your cash, meaning you're even considering just not paying your mortgage for a few months, pocketing that money so that you have it, I guess, as a safety net, and you're willing to just kind of roll the dice and see what happens next?
Exactly. I mean, we're so upside down in the house. I feel like I'm following the mortgage company's rules, and they flat out told me, hey, you know, you get a file assigned to you. You tell them all your finances. They assign you to a specialist or something. That takes 30+ days. And then by the time they get your file, it takes another 30+ days for them to contact you. And they tell you that if you make a payment, your file, you lose your line, your file's wiped away. And so
Very confusing messages here
right,
you're
I mean,
getting from your own lenders.
Right, I don't want to lose my house, but I also can't continue to be at the pace that we're at right now.
Okay, so you are in a quandary, as are a whole lot of Americans. In fact, the Obama plan is promising that this plan might help avert something like 4 million foreclosures. Josh Levs has been fielding emails all day long. In fact, there are a lot of folks who actually are kind of in the same boat as you, Steve, and we've even received a lot of reports. How are people able to relate to Steve's story, Josh?
I'll tell you something, Fred. You know, going through these Facebook messages that we're getting and the emails, it gets to be heart-wrenching after a while. Let's zoom in on the board. I want everyone to see. Throughout the hour, I'm going to be monitoring this. This is the page, Facebook, Josh Levs, CNN. Let's go straight over to the emails, because I want you to see what a bunch of people have written us. This is the central question here. What to do if the bank doesn't want to talk to you, the owner? Any answers would be appreciated. And I want to zoom down to the next story. I think this says a lot, Fred. Check this out. February 2008, I started contacting my mortgage company to find out how much it would cost to establish an impound account. When I finally received a response, it was that they impounded my account. And my mortgage was going from $1,350 a month to $2,500. No one would speak with me.
Oh my God.
I'm now being advised that my home is in foreclosure. So here's what we need to hear from our guests here. Not what's obvious. What are people not aware of that can get the attention of the people in power so they can get some help?
Well, let's go there right now, because we know, Steve, you did make those phone calls. People did answer your calls. They did give you some answers, even though they weren't necessarily the ones you wanted to hear. But, Bob, let me ask you, Bob Moulton, you're a lender. You're used to dealing with people and their questions all the time. What do you tell some of these folks who are calling, who are saying, or emailing, who are saying, you know what, I can't get a straight answer out of anyone. I can't get anyone to answer my call. What do you do?
You know, the process is very overwhelming, and the government has been trying to suggest to lenders to be more attentive to homeowners' needs. Steve is a very classic example of how the new Obama plan is going to assist homeowners. Steve's income is his mortgage payment, which should include his principal, his interest, his taxes, his insurance, and maybe his homeowners association dues if he's in a condominium. They come to 50% of his take-home pay. What we need to do here under the new plan, under the loan modification program, is see what percentage of his home expense is of his gross pay. If it exceeds 31%, what the loan officer at his existing financial institution is going to do is come up with different fixed rate, interest rate scenarios going down to as low as 2%.
Bob, if I could just interject for a second, that is helpful, but if someone's in the situation where they can't get a you to talk to them and say, these are your options, what do they do?
Go?
Well, this plan has just been proposed this week. You have to give it time. Right now, there really hasn't been the attention to specific homeowners to help with that situation. So you have to give this a little time, let it roll out. It does take a while for these government plans and suggestions to trickle down to the street level. So in this particular situation, where it's going to help 4 million homeowners under the loan modification program, I give it another couple of weeks, maybe a month, and then he's going to try to work his expenses down to 31% of his gross income.
Bob, it sounds like you're pretty confident that this plan is going to work, but, you know, Rob, you're getting phone calls from your clients all the time, people you've sold homes to who are now calling you and saying, help. Do they feel confident that this Obama plan, this mortgage modification, just might help them?
I don't think they feel confident. I don't think, as the man in Florida said, the information is just